All right, we're now in section 2.2, where we're going to take the ideas of solving equations and we're going to do multiple step equations this time. Where in 2.1, we just did single steps. We either just added, just subtracted, just multiplied, or just divided. Now we're going to do all of it at the same time. So it gets a little more complicated. We're still trying to solve, so we still want to try to get x by itself, and we want to get all the numbers away from x. The difficult part is we have to make sure that we do it in the right order, kind of like order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add and subtract. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally or PEMDAS. We have to do that, but actually in the opposite order this time when we're solving. So you could either think about PEMDAS backwards, or I know it's kind of weird. I know, I don't even know where I got it from, but I use it to help students because it helps me remember. I use a stranger danger analogy. I know it's kind of silly and it's kind of awkward, but stranger danger. You're stranger danger and you're trying to get all the numbers away from X. How are you going to do it in the easiest way possible? I know it's weird, but it might help. Let's try. If you look at example number 1, when it asks us to solve, we're trying to get X by itself on the same side of the equal to sign by itself, everything else to the other side. So I always look first to see where my equal to sign is. I draw a line. I then look to see where my variable is. So my x is here. And I want to get all the numbers away from that x. Now, if I'm thinking about stranger danger and I'm trying to get rid of those numbers, I have a 3 that's right next to it or a 5 that's off to the side a little bit. If I'm trying to steal those away, which one's farthest away or easiest to steal first? Well, to me, it's the 5. And if you notice, the 5 is being added to the 3x. And so I want to do the opposite of a positive 5 or adding 5. I want to subtract 5. Now remember, as long as I do it to both sides, I should still be okay and balanced. So let's subtract 5 from both sides of the equation. When I do that, 5 minus 5 is 0. And so I just have left a 3x on the left side. 17 minus 5 is 12. So now my equation looks like this. I have a 3 times x equals 12. Now, if I want to get x by itself, I just have to get rid of the 3. You notice the 3 is right next to the x, which in math means multiply, right? And so if I want to get rid of 3 being multiplied, then I've got to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide. So let's go ahead and divide by 3. But make sure, as long as you do it to both sides, we should still be balanced. When I divide both sides by 3, 3 divided by 3 is a 1x, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I end up getting x equals 4 as my solution. Remember, we can always double check by plugging that back into the original. If I plugged in 4, I would have 5 plus 3 times 4, and we want to see if that equals 17. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 5 is actually 17, so I know I got the right answer. So again, you can always double check by plugging it back in. Let's do another one. If you look at B with me, 2x minus 5 equals 7. I found where my equal to sign was, I found where my variable was, and if I'm stranger danger, I want to get all of the numbers away from that x. I have a 2 that's right next to, and then I have a minus 5 that's off to the side. Which one's easier to get rid of? Well, to me, the minus 5. It's farther away from the x, right? And so, what's the opposite of minus 5? Well, adding 5, right? So I'm going to add 5 as long as I make sure to do it to both sides. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0, so I end up with 2x on the left side. 7 plus 5 is 12, so now my equation looks like this. 2 times x equals 12. Now I want to get rid of the 2. The 2 is right next to, which means multiply. So let's get rid of the 2 by doing the opposite and dividing. As long as I make sure to divide both sides by 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1x, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So I end up with the solution x equals 6. Let's do another one. C says 4/3 x minus 7 equals 1. So there's my equal to sign. There's my variable. And I want to get all the numbers away from x. I have a 4/3 that's right next to, and a minus 7 that's off to the side. Let's do the minus 7 first. The opposite of subtracting 7 is adding 7, so let's do that first. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0. 1 plus 7 is 8. On the left side, I'm left with a 4/3 times x equal to 8, right? And so if I want to get x by itself, I still need to get rid of the 4/3. The 4/3 is being multiplied by the x, so to get rid of the 4/3, I want to divide by 4/3. Or wait a second, instead of dividing fractions, can I multiply by the reciprocal? So instead of dividing by 4/3, could I really multiply by 3/4? And as long as I make sure to do it to both sides, my equation is still balanced. On the left side, I have 12 divided by 12, which is just 1x. On my right side, I have 24 divided by 4, or I can say x equals 6. X equals 6 should be the solution to that equation. So making sure that you do it in the right order is really important so that you get the right answer. All right, let's do 3 more here. If you look at D, I have 45 minus t equals 13. There's my equal to sign. Here's my variable. And I want to get all the numbers away from t. Now, if you notice, I have a 45, and I really have what number in front of t? A -1, right? And so I need to get rid of the 45 and the -1. The -1 is right next to, the 45 is off to the side a little bit. Let's go ahead and do the 45 first. Right now, I have a positive 45. So to cancel it, I need a -45, right? So let's subtract 45 from both sides. 45 minus 45 is 0. On the left side then, I'm left with a -1t equals -32. That's 13 minus 45. I still have a -1 that's right next to the t, which means multiply. So let's get rid of the -1 by dividing. Let's divide both sides by -1. -1 divided by -1 is +1, and -32 divided by -1 is +32. So t equals 32. It might be easier to put that 1 in front of the t so you know it's there. All right, let's do one with decimals. On this one, there's my equal to sign. Let's find our variable. Here's our variable y. And so we want to get rid of the 7.2 and the 16.3. It looks like to me the 16.3 is farthest away, so let's go ahead and get rid of that first. Right now it's a positive 16.3, and I need to cancel it out, so let's put a negative 16.3. Let's subtract 16.3 to both sides. Positive 16.3 minus 16.3 is 0, and so on that left side I just have left a negative 7.2y. Negative 8.18 minus 16.3 is a negative 24.48. I now want to get rid of the negative 7.2. It's right next to the y, which means multiply. So in order to get rid of it, I want to divide. Let's divide both sides by negative 7.2. Negative 7.2 divided by negative 7.2 is positive 1. And then I'm going to take negative 24.48 and divide it by negative 7.2. I get a positive 3.4. I got y equals 3.4. All right, one more. Look at F. There's my equal to sign. There's my variable. I really have a invisible -1 in front of there. So I need to get rid of the -1 that's right next to it and the -3 that's a little bit farther away. Let's go ahead and do the -3 first. Right now, the -3, to cancel it out, I need a positive 3, right? The opposite. So let's add 3 to both sides. When I add 3 to both sides, -3 plus 3 is 0. And so on that left side, I really have a -1 times y equal to 11. The -1 is right next to the y, which means multiply. So let's get rid of it by dividing both sides by -1. -1 divided by -1 is 1y, and 11 divided by -1 is -11. I ended up getting y equals -11. Whew, the more you practice, the easier those will become, but make sure you understand how to do multiple step equations. If I were you, I would pause right now. I would do a few practice problems maybe in the homework, or cover up these examples and do it one more time all by yourself to make sure that you have a good foundation, because we're going to move on and add a little bit more to it in the next video.